I was standing on my own front lawn with my hands cuffed behind my back. Two police cruisers sat in my driveway, their red and blue lights slicing through the afternoon air. My neighbors had gathered on their porches, phones out recording everything. I looked up at my front porch and saw my wife Meredith holding her phone, filming me laughing so hard she could barely breathe. She said into the phone, "Oh my God, you should see his face right now. This is hilarious." That was the moment I knew this was the last time I would ever let her humiliate me. Before I tell you how I ended up in handcuffs on my own property, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe if you have not already. Trust me, you are going to want to hear how this story ends. To understand how I got here, I need to take you back 4 years to when I first met Meredith. It was a warm evening in Austin, Texas. I was at an outdoor concert in Zilker Park, celebrating a promotion I had just received at the software company where I worked as an engineer. I was 30 years old, feeling like I was finally getting my life together. I had a good job, a nice apartment, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely optimistic about the future. That is when I saw her. Meredith was standing near the stage, her blonde hair catching the last rays of sunlight. She had this magnetic energy about her, the kind that made everyone around her gravitate toward her. She was confident, radiant, and completely captivating. When she caught me looking at her, she did not look away. She smiled and walked straight over to me. "You look like someone who just got really good news," she said. I laughed and told her about my promotion. She seemed genuinely interested, asking questions about my work, my goals, my dreams. By the end of the night, I had her number and a date planned for the following weekend. The next 6 months were like something out of a movie. Meredith knew exactly how to make me feel special. She would surprise me with my favorite meals, plan elaborate date nights, and constantly tell me how lucky she was to have found me. I had never felt so valued by anyone in my entire life. Looking back now, I can see the small warning signs I chose to ignore. There was the time she told an embarrassing story about me at a dinner party, making everyone laugh at my expense. When I mentioned later that it bothered me, she rolled her eyes and said I was being too sensitive. There was also the time she jokingly told my coworkers at a company event that I snored so loud she needed earplugs. Everyone laughed, and I laughed along, telling myself that was just her way of being funny. We got married after a year of dating. The wedding was beautiful and expensive, mostly paid for by her parents. Her father, Harold, was a retired attorney who carried himself like he was still arguing cases in front of a jury. During his wedding speech, he made a joke about how lucky I was that their family had accepted me into the fold. Everyone chuckled politely. I smiled and raised my glass, convincing myself it was just his sense of humor. The first real prank came 3 months after we got married. I had an important meeting at work that morning, a presentation to senior leadership that could lead to another promotion. I woke up early, showered, got dressed, and went to grab my car keys from the hook by the door. They were not there. I searched everywhere. I checked my jacket pockets, the kitchen counter, under the couch cushions, everywhere I could think of. 30 minutes passed. I was sweating through my shirt, my heart pounding as I realized I was going to be late. That is when I heard Meredith laughing from the bedroom. She walked out holding her phone, which was recording. In her other hand were my car keys. "Your face right now," she said between giggles. "This is gold." I was furious, but I did not have time to argue. I grabbed the keys and ran out the door. I arrived at the meeting 15 minutes late. My boss pulled me aside afterward and told me punctuality was non-negotiable if I wanted to advance. When I got home that evening, I tried to explain to Meredith how much that prank had cost me professionally. She dismissed my concerns immediately. "It was just a joke," she said. "You need to learn to laugh at yourself." When I did not let it go, she called her mother. An hour later, I had both Harold and Donna on speakerphone telling me I was overreacting and that Meredith was just being playful. I started to wonder if maybe I was the problem. The second prank happened 5 months later at my birthday party. Meredith had organized a celebration at her parents' house. About 30 people were there, including my coworkers, friends, and family. After dinner, Meredith announced she had a special surprise for me. She connected her laptop to the big screen television and started a slideshow. The first few photos were normal pictures of us from our wedding and vacations. Then the tone shifted dramatically. Suddenly, the screen showed a photo of me asleep on the couch, with my mouth hanging open. Then one of me looking disheveled after a night of drinking with my college friends. Then, to my absolute horror, a photo of me in the bathroom, clearly taken without my knowledge. The room erupted in laughter. Meredith stood beside the screen soaking in the attention, like she had just performed a comedy special. I sat frozen in my chair, my face burning with humiliation. 30 people, including my colleagues and my own mother, were laughing at me. After the party, my best friend Travis pulled me outside. "Dude, that was not normal?" He said, his voice serious. "She humiliated you in front of everyone and called it a gift." I started making excuses for her. "She does not mean any harm. That is just how she shows affection." Travis shook his head slowly. "Love does not look like that, man. I have known you for 15 years and I have never seen you look so small." I told him he was overreacting, but that night I lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that everything was fine. The pranks continued and escalated throughout our second and third years of marriage. During our second year, Meredith posted on Facebook that I had lost my job. I was actually just on a 2-week vacation, but she thought it would be funny to see how people reacted. My phone exploded with calls and texts from concerned friends and family. Worst of all, my manager saw the post and called me directly to ask if everything was okay. I confronted Meredith, genuinely angry for one of the first times in our marriage. She deleted the post but insisted it was just a social experiment. When I raised my voice, she started crying and accused me of being controlling. "This is who I am," she sobbed. "If you cannot accept that, maybe you do not really love me." Somehow I ended up apologizing to her. A few months later, she called my mother and told her we were separating. My mom called me in tears, devastated, asking what had happened. I had no idea what she was talking about. When I confronted Meredith, she said she wanted to see how my mother would react. "It was just an experiment," she said with a shrug. "I wanted to know if she really cares about our marriage." My relationship with my mother was strained for months after that. She never fully trusted Meredith again. The worst prank before the police incident happened during our third year of marriage. I went on a 3-day business trip to Denver. A business. When I came home, I opened the front door and my heart stopped. The house was completely empty. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every sign that anyone had ever lived there was gone. My first thought was that we had been robbed. My second thought was that Meredith had left me. I was reaching for my phone to call the police when Meredith jumped out from the bedroom with 3 of her friends, all of them recording on their phones. "Surprise!" they screamed. All our furniture had been moved to the garage. It took them 8 hours to set it up, Meredith told me proudly. She posted the video to TikTok that night. It got over 50,000 views. I had to sit down on the floor because my heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Meredith just laughed and told me I should be grateful she put so much effort into entertaining him. After that incident, I started confiding in Travis more frequently. One evening over beers at his place, he asked me a question that stopped me cold. "When was the last time you actually felt happy at home?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I could not remember. I literally could not recall a single moment in the past year where I felt genuinely at peace in my own house. Travis suggested we try couples counseling. I brought it up to Meredith that weekend, framing it as something that could help us communicate better. Her response was immediate and defensive. "Our marriage is fine. You are the one with the problem. If you cannot handle a little humor, maybe you should see a therapist on your own." She told her parents about my suggestion, framing it as me trying to control her. Harold called me that evening. "Lyle, you need to stop making my daughter feel like something is wrong with her," he said, his attorney voice in full effect. "She is a vibrant, fun-loving woman, and you are lucky to have her. Stop trying to fix what is not broken." Donna sent me a text message that night. "My daughter deserves someone who appreciates her. Think about that." I made one final attempt to reach Meredith. I spent an entire evening writing her a letter, pouring out my feelings onto 3 pages of handwritten words. I explained how the pranks made me feel small, disrespected, and unsafe in my own home. I told her I loved her, but that I needed her to understand how much pain her jokes caused me. She read the letter in front of me, nodding occasionally. When she finished, she folded it up and put it in her purse. "I hear you," she said. "Let me think about this." A week later, I ran into one of Meredith's friends at the grocery store. She gave me a sympathetic look and said, "I read your letter. It was really sweet. I hope Meredith realizes how dramatic she is being about it." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean you read my letter?" The friend's face went pale as she realized her mistake. I thought you knew." "She sent it to our group chat. She said you were being dramatic and needed to lighten up." I drove home in silence, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The woman I married had shared my most vulnerable moment with her friends as a joke. The day that changed everything was a Saturday in September. It started like any other weekend. I was outside mowing the lawn, enjoying the simple physical labor and the warm Texas sun. Meredith was inside with two of her closest friends, Madison and Brooke. I assumed they were just having a girls' afternoon. I had no idea they were planning what Meredith would later call the ultimate prank. Around 2 in the afternoon, I came inside to get some water. Meredith and her friends were huddled around her phone, giggling about something. I did not think anything of it. I grabbed a glass of water, went back outside, and continued working on the yard. 15 minutes later, I heard sirens. 2 police cruisers pulled up in front of my house, lights flashing. 4 officers got out, and I immediately noticed their body language. They were tense, hands hovering near their weapons. One of them, whose badge read Officer Daniels, approached me with a stern expression. "Sir, I need you to put down whatever you are holding and raise your hands above your head," he said firmly. I was holding a garden hose. I dropped it immediately, my mind racing through every possible explanation for what was happening. Had there been a break-in nearby? Was there some kind of emergency? "Now I need you to step away from the house slowly and get down on your knees." I did as I was told, my heart hammering in my chest. I watched as 2 officers entered my house while Officer Daniels and his partner approached me. "What is going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "We received a 911 call from this residence," Officer Daniels said. "The caller reported that a man was assaulting his wife and that there were weapons in the home." My entire body went cold. "That is not true. I have been outside mowing the lawn for the past 2 hours. My wife is inside with her friends. You can ask them." Officer Daniels nodded but did not change his stance. "Sir, for everyone's safety, I need to place you in handcuffs until we can verify the situation." I felt the cold metal click around my wrists behind my back. This could not be happening. This had to be some kind of mistake. That is when I heard the laughter. I looked up at my front porch and saw Meredith standing there with Madison and Brooke. All 3 of them had their phones out recording. Meredith was laughing so hard, tears were streaming down her face. "Oh my God," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "This is the best prank ever. His face is absolutely priceless." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My own wife had called the police and told them I was beating her. She had reported that I had weapons. She had put my life in danger for a video. Officer Daniels heard her. His expression shifted from professional neutrality to barely concealed disgust. He walked over to Meredith while his partner helped me to my feet. "Ma'am, did you call 911 and make a false report?" Meredith was still smiling, not understanding the gravity of what she had done. "Come on, it was just a joke. We are married. This is what we do for fun. You can take the handcuffs off him now." Officer Daniels did not smile. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a serious crime. You told our dispatcher that your husband was physically assaulting you and that he had weapons in the home. Do you understand that officers responding to that kind of call are prepared to use force if necessary?" For the first time, I saw fear flicker across Meredith's face. I did not think about it like that. Like, it was just supposed to be funny. The officers searched the house and found no evidence of violence or weapons. They removed my handcuffs and took statements from everyone present. Madison and Brooks suddenly seemed very interested in leaving. Before Officer Daniels left, he handed me a card. "If you want to press charges for the false report, this is who you need to contact," he said quietly. "What she did today could have ended very differently. I have seen situations like this go bad. Consider yourself fortunate." I looked at the card, then at my wife, who was still trying to explain to the other officers that it was all just a misunderstanding. Something inside me shifted permanently. That evening, I did not go home. I drove straight to Travis's apartment and told him everything. He listened in silence, his jaw tightening with every detail. When I finished, he sat back and stared at me for a long moment. "She could have gotten you killed," he said finally. "Do you understand that cops responding to a domestic violence call with weapons involved, they come in ready for the worst. One wrong move, one misunderstanding, and I could be planning your funeral right now." I had not allowed myself to think about it that way until he said the words out loud. But he was right. In a different circumstance, with different officers, with any small variable changed, I might not be sitting here. "What are you going to do?" Travis asked. I thought about the past 4 years, the pranks that were never funny, the humiliation I accepted because I thought that was what love looked like, the letter I wrote begging my wife to respect me, which she turned into entertainment for her friends. "Something I should have done a long time ago," I said. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney named Sandra Graves. Travis had gotten her name from a coworker who went through a difficult divorce the previous year. She was known for being thorough and relentless. I told her everything starting from the car keys incident through to the police showing up at my house. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, she said, "You have grounds for divorce based on cruel treatment, but I also strongly recommend you press charges for the false report. Having that on record will strengthen your case significantly and protect you if she tries to make any more false accusations during the divorce proceedings." I drove to the police station that afternoon and filed a formal complaint against Meredith for filing a false police report. Officer Daniels provided a statement corroborating everything. The 911 recording and the body camera footage from the responding officers would serve as evidence. Meredith had called me 17 times since the previous day. I had not answered any of them. Her texts ranged from apologetic to angry to pleading. "Baby, I am so sorry. It was supposed to be funny. Please come home." "Are you seriously ignoring me over a joke?" "My parents think you are overreacting. Can we just talk about this? This is not fair. You are blowing this completely out of proportion." I did not respond to any of them. The next morning, I went back to the house. Meredith's car was in the driveway along with her parents' Mercedes. I knew Harold and Donna would be there. Meredith always called them when she needed backup. I walked through the front door and found all three of them sitting in the living room, clearly waiting for me. Meredith's eyes were red from crying. Harold stood up immediately, his chest puffed out. "Lyle, we need to talk about this situation," he said using his courtroom voice. "Meredith made a mistake, I grant you that. But involving the police is a massive overreaction. We are family. We handle things internally." I did not respond. I walked to the kitchen table and set down 2 folders. "What is this?" Meredith asked, her voice trembling. "The first folder contains divorce papers," I said calmly. "The second is a copy of the criminal complaint I filed against you yesterday for making a false police report." The color drained from Meredith's face. She opened the first folder and stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. "You are divorcing me over a prank. You called the police and told them I was beating you and that I had weapons," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Officers showed up ready to use force. I was handcuffed on my own lawn in front of my neighbors. You recorded it and laughed. This is not a prank. This is a crime, and I am done." Harold stepped toward me, his face reddening. "Listen here, son. I have connections in this town. I will destroy you if you go through with this. I will make sure you never work in this city again." I looked at him without flinching. "Your daughter filed a false police report. That is a felony in the state of Texas. I have the 911 recording where she claims I was assaulting her. I have body camera footage of her admitting it was a prank while I was in handcuffs. I have 3 witnesses who heard her laugh about it. So please, Harold, go ahead and use your connections. I would love to see how that works out." Harold's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Meredith started crying. "I did not mean for it to go this far. I love you. Can we please just talk about this?" I shook my head. "I wrote you a letter explaining exactly how your pranks made me feel. You shared it with your friends and called me dramatic. I have tried talking, Meredith. I have tried for 4 years. You never listened. The only language you seem to understand is consequences." I turned and walked out of the house. Behind me, I could hear Meredith sobbing and Harold demanding that Donna call their family attorney. Over the following months, the legal process unfolded. Meredith was charged with filing a false police report, a Class B misdemeanor in Texas. She pleaded no contest and was sentenced to pay a $5,000 fine and complete 100 hours of community service. The charge went on her permanent criminal record. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Given the documented history of cruel treatment and the criminal charge, my attorney was able to secure a clean break. I did not ask for alimony or any of her family's money. I just wanted my freedom. The first few weeks after the divorce were harder than I expected. I rented a small one-bedroom apartment near my office. It was nothing fancy, just enough space for a bed, a couch, and a small kitchen table. After 4 years of living in the house Meredith and I had shared, the silence was deafening. I would wake up in the middle of the night reaching across the bed for someone who was no longer there. I would come home from work and instinctively brace myself, waiting for some prank or joke at my expense. Then I would remember that I was alone, and I was not sure if that made me feel relieved or sad. There were moments when I questioned my decision. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe I should have given her another chance. Maybe I had thrown away my marriage over something that other people would have forgiven. But then I would remember the feeling of cold metal handcuffs clicking around my wrists. I would remember looking up and seeing my wife laughing at me. I would remember the officer telling me how differently that situation could have ended. And I knew I had made the right choice. Slowly, things began to improve. Without the constant anxiety of wondering what prank was coming next, I found myself more focused at work. 6 months after the divorce, I received the promotion I had been working toward for years. My new role came with a significant raise and, more importantly, the respect of my colleagues. I started going to the gym again, something I had abandoned during my marriage because Meredith always made fun of my attempts to work out. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from because she did not like them. I called my mother every Sunday, and we had the kind of honest conversations we had not had in years. Travis remained my closest friend through all of it. Every Saturday, we would go fishing at a lake about an hour outside the city. It was something I had always wanted to do, but never had time for when I was married. One afternoon, as we sat in his boat watching our lines, Travis looked over at me and smiled. "Welcome back, man," he said. "I miss this version of you." I asked him what he meant. "The guy I grew up with," he said. "The guy who laughed easily and did not walk around like he was waiting for someone to pull the rug out from under him. That guy disappeared for a while. It is good to have him back." I do not hate Meredith. I spent a long time being angry, but eventually I realized that holding on to that anger was just another way of letting her control my life. She is who she is. Maybe she will learn from what happened, maybe she will not. Either way, it is no longer my problem. What I learned from those 4 years is that love is not a license for someone to treat you however they want. Setting boundaries is not controlling. Walking away is not failure. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to accept treatment that makes you feel small. I live alone now in my little apartment. Every morning I make coffee and sit by the window watching the city wake up below me. There is no one waiting to record my reaction to some elaborate joke. There is no one turning my vulnerabilities into entertainment for their friends. For the first time in years, I feel peaceful. If you are in a relationship where someone constantly crosses your boundaries and tells you it is just a joke, I want you to know something. It is not a joke. It is not love. And you deserve better. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not fight to save a relationship. Sometimes it is having the courage to walk away and save yourself. That brings us to the end of my story. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had someone in your life who disguised cruelty as humor? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I think sharing these experiences helps all of us realize we are not alone. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Your support means more than you know. Thank you for spending this time with me. Whatever you are going through right now, I hope you find the strength to choose yourself. You are worth it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.